Hi there, welcome to another episode of Global Links, corporate training masterclass aimed at the mining sector. And my name is Sthembiso Phakathi, your host. And I'd like to introduce my guest today, Devaan Parbhoo, and maybe introduce yourself once again, Devaan, and maybe tell us what you do and how you relate to the topic of AI.
Thank you so much, Thay. I appreciate it. And it's great to be part of the conversation, first and foremost. I'm really excited about it because it's been one of these big passions of mine. So I currently work in the Sanlam Group.
Sure.
I'm the head of digital HR for Santam, one of the clusters. Been there for about 5.5 years now.
That's great.
And really been invested in modernizing the technology stack in the organization and ensuring that we can evolve specifically the human resources function through the use of artificial intelligence, automation, and the data analytics function as well.
The data analytics,
and these three are interlinked. They're intertwined. You can't succeed in one without the other.
Without the other,
and that's transportable not just in one particular business. I think that's exportable across many sectors.
Yeah. Thanks, and I'm glad. I remember when I met you during my talk at Santam. We did talk about the impact of tech on the workforce. This particular series delves into the impact of tech AI into mining operations. Maybe let's start there. Why do most organizations get scared about AI taking jobs or displacing jobs? And how could we demystify that fear when we talk about workforce impact?
I think it's about the change, to be honest. I think that we struggle with change as people in organizations because we believe that whatever we do at work is how we identify to some degree. And the minute that is threatened, we hold back.
Yes, then you hold back,
Right, we hold back because your brain tells you I'm under threat and I'm going to fight against this, right?
Yeah.
But I think we can also counter that with reskilling and upskilling.
Yes.
I think it's important that organizations put plans in place for their business to evolve.
Yeah.
And as we put those plans in place, we help people come along this journey to change. To alleviate for that fight or that fear that this is taken away from me.
Exactly, or it's going to take part of my job. But I want to start, Devaan, with the role of leaders. How do leaders start, almost assuring the worker that AI and tech is actually an assistant, not or a co-worker, and it shouldn't be seen as someone that's just taking over your tasks.
Yeah. I think you're talking about the human AI partnership, right?
Yeah,
because that's what it is.
That's what it is.
It's me using it not just as a piece of technology, something performing its job, but I refer to it at some level as almost a team member.
A team member or a co-worker.
Or a co-worker, right? Yeah, you're giving it tasks. You're setting KPIs for it. And if it doesn't achieve its KPIs, then you're evaluating its performance. And by evaluating, you're fine-tuning it. Right, which is what
it's actually about collaboration, where machines and humans can collaborate seamlessly without stepping on each other. And by the way, I always say that there's just those tasks that machine can do better, and those tasks that humans can do better.
Yeah.
So it's about understand. So you're saying that the role of leaders is just to understand how you allocate work. And if you see tech and AI as a co-worker, your mindset around work allocation and apportionment becomes different.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it absolutely is the leader's responsibility to, because they shape strategy, essentially, right? And they set the culture. And if the culture in the organization is not geared towards adopting these technologies, then we're going to struggle. Right? You're going to struggle to get the budget.
And the adoption and the buy-in is going to slack.
All of it.
Now, going to the operations and mining, and I mean, most of my clients have, adopted new technologies, conventional mining. When you stay there, you're going to stay behind for a long time. And some have automated some processes. What have you seen in the adoption of change within the sector, particularly about embracing tech generally, not even AI, within the mining sector? sector. I'm sure you may have had exposure in just, although you come from the FSI, but just in that, because that sector generally is about traditional, conventional ways of doing business.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think, first and foremost, mining is equally as safety is important to mining.
Well, absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
So how do we ensure that the human AI partnership solves for safety? I think the minute we start framing our relationship with the technology from that perspective, we begin to realize what predictive maintenance looks like. Right? How do we include the Internet of Things and these sensors
IoTs,
around our technology, or sort of the mechanisms that we use, like heavy machinery and those sort of things? How do we include the use of sensors onto these devices send data back to head office or to a data warehouse, which you're then able to mine the information to say, we need to actually increase our maintenance on this drill.
Yes.
This shaft might have an issue, or the grade of this iron ore that we're extracting is, there's some defects here. IoT has a big proponent to ensuring that we are safe in the mines. And that the quality of the product that we're extracting from the earth is of the highest quality. And we're able to sift through that.
And we do it safely. 100%. You mentioned IoT, but I like to talk a little bit more about predictive analytics. I think in mining operations, that's going to be inevitable, because then you can make decisions at the right time before things break down. Do you think, what's the role of the quality of data? How can mining operations ensure that before they introduce AI tools, the data is credible and accessible?
It's paramount. So if I think back to a personal circumstance at work at the moment, right, we are engineering our processes because that's where the data is created.
Okay.
Right? Because, the age-old saying is garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah, of course.
Right? And that's still relevant when artificial intelligence is at play. Because if you if you bring in sort of garbage, let's call it that, right? Or the data is not clean, the data quality is low. Or it's outdated, right?
Yeah.
It's going to fabricate. If you're asking the data to predict anything,
it's going to fabricate.
It's going to fabricate something because there's a gap in the system.
Okay.
So engineering the process is where you have to start, right? To ensure that whatever data you're putting in, that's clean. And if there's a level of automation up front in the early stages of the process, you have to ensure that data model or that algorithm is clean. It's working the way it's expected, and it's got a high degree of efficiency, so that you can guarantee that on the output you're getting clean data there,
and it's more authentic and it's reliable.
And that's the thing, right? The model produces reliable results. So quality of data is extremely important.
That's a powerful point, because I was just thinking that earlier you talked about upskilling and reskilling, and I was talking to one of my clients last week and saying, when we talk reskilling, upskilling, we always, as leaders, look downwards, at staff and teams that must be upskilled. Are we seeing enough of leadership appetite to update their software around AI skills or tech skills? And I think I call it proficiency around tech, or they just think we will find a way to get there as long as the employees get it. But how can we ensure that leaders take advantage and embrace the upskilling, especially on the tech side?
Look, leadership development, as you know, stays a billion-dollar industry, right?
Big. $1
billion. A couple of friends of mine came back from Harvard Business School recently.
Is it?
And this notion of digital leadership is massive. They're building a lot of courseware around how do we ensure that we prompt these AI models correctly from a leadership perspective, to ensure that our leaders understand how best to use the platforms and how best to ensure that their team members are not fearful of us bringing this investment into the organization.
Yes, that's another point.
Right, so this is a global phenomenon that people are struggling with and people are dealing with. It's not just something locally in South Africa. What we've done is we've made it mandatory in the very same way, and I'm talking about Sanlam Group, right? In the very same way, in the very same way that you see phishing courses or cybersecurity courses.
It's mandatory.
It's mandatory in an organization. We've made AI literacy mandatory.
Mandatory as well.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a big step.
It's a big step.
So it's not an option.
It's not an option.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's one way to entice the leadership. I mean, not almost to entice or force them, but to make them realize the importance of it. Because then it says, even refresher courses, then say every 6 or 12 months, we have to do a refresher course on AI
Absolutely.
or on tech.
Yeah. So I think that's important, regardless of the industry you're in.
Regardless
I think
of the
it's going to
industry.
be important that you set the precedent out up front. This is a mandatory course because it's going to shape the face of humanity. It's going to shape the future of the workforce. So it's not just about security, but it's about how do you ensure you get efficient, accurate results on the outside and limit hallucination and fabrication.
The hallucination, exactly, and the fabrication. The other thing I was thinking about is I was driving here and I was addressing a group of shop stewards yesterday at Impara's Palace. And we had a course. I was asked to speak at a conference. I think it's an annual summit for shop stewards. And most of them from Noom were saying to me, yeah, AI isn't going to work in our minds because we've got semi-skilled or unskilled workforce. How long will it take to train a grade 5 rock driller or someone working manually in the operation AI? What would you say the importance of stakeholders understanding the role of AI, especially where we've got so many blue-collar workers within the sector and it's heavily unionized? What is the importance of involving stakeholders and making them understand the impact of this, actually the impact of tech and AI on the bottom line and productivity and efficiency?
I think so. I think there are multiple legs. If you think of a tripod, there might be 3 legs to this, right?
Okay.
So on the one end, it's the shareholders.
Yeah.
Right. On the other end, the individuals like the blue collar workers, as you mentioned. And then absolutely, the shop stewards. If we just limit it to those 3 sort of stakeholder groups for now.
Very important.
We have to look at the expectations of each of these stakeholders. From a shareholder point of view, we want to ensure that we extract value in terms of rands and cents, right? But at the same time, we want to ensure that there's sustainability.
Sustainability, yes.
Right, and we're ensuring that there's a future for people that are going to be working in this human-AI partnership.
Yeah.
For those in the mines, we want to ensure that there's safety. We spoke a lot about that earlier, right? So there's that. And then from a shop steward point of view, we want to ensure that nobody loses their job.
Of course, yeah.
Right.
Try and safeguard those
100%,
jobs.
yeah. So I think that we have to ensure that each of those expectations are satisfied. How do we do that? I think what's important is policy.
Yeah.
Has to be put in place. Responsible and ethical AI policy. If we don't start there, then shareholders are going to say, we can get into a mine to ensure that we extract whatever we need to do in line of our business at the lowest cost. Maximum premium coming
maximum
out.
premium,
right?
yes.
That's
maximum value.
And in our context, where if mining is the backbone of our economy, right? That's irresponsible use of AI and unethical use of AI because we do more damage to our society than anything else, right?
Yeah.
If we don't do that, so if we don't put those policies in place, we'll see individuals like NUMSA, or as you mentioned, like the shop stewards in those environments, we'll start seeing more protest action. Ultimately, right? There's more discord in society, discord in the business. And then from a people point of view, there's resistance.
Yeah.
They'll resist.
They just
want to get involved in it.
Get involved.
Right? And the problem with that is that it puts us back as an economy.
Yeah.
It puts us back in comparison to North America,
to other countries,
countries that are using artificial intelligence as part of the gold extraction, as part of the iron ore extraction and those sort of things there, right? So I think that we have to look at it from those perspectives. I think safety plays such a core role in this.
Occupational safety.
It plays a massive
very
role.
important.
Yeah, and I think
AI should not be compromising any aspect of safety.
It should be amplifying.
It should be amplifying.
Should be amplifying that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I was saying to someone else that if we can, AI and tech should help organizations reduce human interaction and human intervention in a process. Because once there's too many human handoffs in a process, and then there's risk around fatigue and then performance and efficiencies and those kinds of things.
I think in the right spaces, though.
Yeah.
I think that where human decision making is required,
Of course.
I think that's where we will
You
continue
need
to play a
humans,
role.
of course.
Yeah. Because of bias
Yeah.
that could be built in based on the model, the training data set that the AI model has been trained on.
Yeah, yeah.
If there's any bias riddled in the data set and you rely on an AI model to make a decision, that bias is going to come out on the other side.
It's going to come out, definitely, yeah.
So I think that when we consider decision automation, we have to build simulations.
Okay.
Right.
Before you implement.
Before we implement. And if you think about this, right, so the challenge that we're seeing in society at the moment is that everybody hears the word AI and they think generative AI.
Generative, yeah.
Where it's only a form, right? It's not the be all and end all of it, right? You've got robotic process automation.
Exactly.
You've got simulation.
Yeah, RPAs, yeah. Simulations.
All of those, right? And what's important about this is that they play their role in ensuring that you are more productive and
in
efficient.
specific contexts as well.
100%, yeah.
So each industry might not need generative AI or cognitive AI as an example, but there are different parts. You mentioned IoT earlier as well as predictive analytics and sensors. In this industry, have you seen or heard of any other specific AI tools that apply in the mining sector, and what's the take up, especially in this African content? Are there like people that are in the forefront of adopting those tools, the ones at the back, and what are the benefits for those that are actually in the forefront?
So I'm not going to speak mining specifically to the mining sector, but there's collaboration tools that are fueled by artificial intelligence at the moment. Right? There's a lot of collaboration tools. There's what's called edge computing.
Okay.
And that's really, these supercomputers that are being used, that are being fueled by AI algorithms. And because of its processing power, is able to then process large reams of data.
At the same time. Okay.
At the same time, to ensure that the predictive models and if we spoke about predictive maintenance, that the algorithms that fuel these models are accurate and are reliable. So those are two big things that are in play at the moment.
I haven't heard of edge. Did you say edge computing?
Edge computing, yeah.
That's interesting. Every time I address a group of supervisors and managers within mining, they always raise this thing of job displacement. And in my opening statement, I did mention it. And again, how do we allay that fear? And how do we continue to punt to the idea that actually AI tools are co-workers and are colleagues, and it's just passing on tasks that are ideal for them. It's not really folding hands and waiting for them to do everything for you as humans, as an example.
So I think that in the mining sector, you've got people that are sitting at, in the back office, and you've got people that are the blue-collar workers sitting on the floor, right? So you've got both white and blue. I think what's important is communication. You have to be transparent. Okay. So let's start off there. You ensure that you are clear and transparent in your communication around how this technology is going to be utilized, how it's going to ensure that we reskill and upskill on the one hand, but on the other side, how do we ensure that we are protecting our people, and how are we ensuring that we safeguard the future of the organization?
Yeah, you mentioned sustainability.
Sustainability of the organization, and also sustainability of the mine, right? So I think it's on both sides. Then so it's communication about that. It's the policy we spoke about. In addition to that, it's hosting webinars. Yes. That's part of your training plan.
It's to
ensure that everybody is on board. Everybody's aware. So when they see that there's when they see that there's this output, essentially, then they gain an understanding to say, I knew this was coming along. This was not something new. Because in that way, they're then sensitized to the fact that an AI application is coming into the business to assist me with my work, and by and large, to ensure that I'm more productive and more efficient. It's the holy grail for me. That if it's not there to make me more productive and efficient, then I question its validity.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
so
what
how
is
is
it
it
gonna do?
improving? How is it improving the day in the life of my job? So
100%.
So that, like I said earlier, so that humans can do what makes sense: strategic work, creative work, thinking work, and all of that stuff. So that machines can do the stuff. Because what makes people get fatigued and bored is doing routine and mundane tasks, which machine can do better. So
absolutely.
it's just explaining, if you could save 30 minutes in your day and just passing these tasks to the machine, then you can get more time for thinking, planning, and doing strategic work.
And you read books by Nancy Klein, Time to Think.
Time to think.
There's a lot of programs that are built around those books. And then you get into work and say, but how do I make time to think?
How do you make time
because
to think?
my diary is full of activities I need to get to. And for the first time, I think that we have the power of technology that can help us.
It can help us to
think.
Yeah. Because when you're too busy doing low value stuff, it's intense effort, but low value stuff, then definitely gonna fatigue. And by the way, it's not that challenging. If you're doing mundane, repetitive, and routine stuff, it's not challenging, so it creates boredom. I want to touch on this thing before we move to the end, Devaan, around ethics. I think you touched on it earlier. How do we ensure in the sector that when we introduce these tools, methodologies, and AI solutions, it's ethical? In other words, it doesn't cut corners, it doesn't compromise safety, it doesn't compromise legislative frameworks, especially in this sector. If the regulator gets to know that you've cut corners in terms of Mining Act and you're in trouble, how do we ensure ethics? And what's your feel, generally speaking, around AI ethical standards?
I think it's first and foremost the policy.
Okay.
We have to put that ethical and responsible policy in play, because that's going to govern what data the models will have access to, who will have the ability to sign off on using the model, because it's what's called role-based permissions.
Role-based permissions, okay.
And then in addition to that, it governs how we will use the information to make decisions, right? So I think that's one. On the other hand, if you look at the technology stack, these models require treasure troves of information in order to produce an output. So we need to ensure that our technology stack is secure.
Okay.
Right? We have to ensure that the security requirements of the organization,
of the actual solution,
of the solution are secure. Where are we storing our data?
Okay.
Are we storing our data in Finland? Are we storing our data in North America, the US, or are we storing our data in Africa?
Yeah.
Because if you think of GDPR, each of the use of these different storage locations require an additional layer of security. So I think that's another thing, right?
Sure.
In addition to that, we have to ensure that our processes are engineered. We have to ensure that we constantly manage our process, the manual
because
processes.
before you can automate it, it must be optimized.
100%, yeah. Because if you optimize inefficiency, you just have faster ways to get more inefficient work.
Ways, exactly. Yeah.
So we have to ensure that we are lean. There are many organizations that talk about us being agile.
Yeah.
If you read the original manuscripts of what it means to be an agile organization from Toyota, it wasn't in IT. It was in the human resources practices. It was around how we ensure that our people are efficient, how our people remove waste from whatever they are doing, from their decision-making processes.
And duplications 100%. And things.
So we have to start there as well, right? Because we referenced garbage in, garbage out earlier.
Sure.
We have to constantly seek ways to ensure that we are weeding out the waste.
Yeah.
How much time is...
And we focus on the right things and the things that are going to create and unlock value.
100%, yeah.
What would you say to someone that says, listen, I don't want to work with any AI tools, or whether you call them co-workers or co-employees, because I'm comfortable with the way I've always done things. And sometimes at my talks, I talk about upskilling. What do mining organizations do around giving people skills that they can use art in society because of tech or for any other reason? is there an opportunity to use upskilling as a way to say, now that we're automating, we've got AI tools, we can give you skills, the business skills as an example, or we can give you skills to join our value chain and be a supplier to us. Is there an opportunity of that kind where people say, I'm not, because remember, you can't force people to be upskilled.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to learn new things. I've been driving this truck and it's my job and I'm not willing to learn anything different.
I think for the first time in our existence as humanity, we've got a chance to democratize skills.
Sure.
And what do I mean by that? I mean, the prompt engineering capability that you build in one sector, you're building a framework for how to get the right output of a model.
Yeah.
If we think of just generative AI.
Sure.
Right? You're using a particular framework to prompt a model to get the output you're looking for.
The output that you're looking for, yeah.
To get the decision automating, to get the integration, to get the sort of the API call. Using a framework upon which to get the output, right?
Sure.
For the first time, we have an opportunity to pre-program what that framework can look like.
Okay.
So therefore, regardless of the industry, regardless of the sector you're in, if you are keen to know how to prompt a model, your skill is then exportable to another sector.
Okay. All right.
Right. So I think that
so it's transportable.
I think it's transportable, and I think that as part of that awareness and creating transparency we spoke about earlier around what organizations and what people can do to ensure what leadership can do to ensure that their people buy in. I think that it's shaping the opportunity. We have to shape the opportunity to showcase that in the economy of the future, you have a role to play. And these are the skills that are going to be extremely valuable in this economy of the future. And if you don't have these skills, you are second to
you're going to always be catching up.
Always going to be catching up.
Catching up, yeah.
And I know of people that are, they've been doing the same thing for 15 years, as you pointed out. You're doing the same activity over and over.
Same thing.
And we've automated that task at work. It's gone from 45 minutes for the one down to 2 minutes.
To 2 minutes, wow.
And we've included decision automation, RPA, and generative AI into the solution.
15 to 2 minutes.
From 45 minutes to 2 minutes to get the answer, and then for the individual to then validate the answer. So the human is still, the warm body is still there.
It's still there,
because they have an important analytical role to play.
But you're just performing different tasks
100%.
From those.
Previously, you spent 45 minutes performing a capturing task. Now you're spending time not capturing, but you're spending time analyzing and helping fine-tune the model.
So analytical and also reporting, because sometimes you get the outputs that you were talking about, but sometimes the leader or the human does not know how to interpret the output and also provide reporting on that tool. And maybe it's part of the training that we're going to need to teach our supervisors and managers.
Absolutely.
That once you've got the data output or the report, what do you do? And as I said earlier, can you make better decisions using that information?
Yeah, spot on.
I think that's part of the training. Okay, the last thing that I want to touch on is artificial intelligence going to be able to solve all operational problems, especially if predictive analytics don't take place? Because there's an illusion that you just introduce AI, all your problems are solved. I just think some thinking humans are still needed in the mining operations, I would imagine.
Absolutely.
But it's an illusion to think that just by introducing an AI tool, all maintenance problems are going to be sorted or all efficiency problems are going to be solved.
Yeah, so it's definitely not it's not going to solve all our problems.
All our
definitely won't. It's going to ensure, and I think I want to come back to this point around, it's going to ensure that I'm more productive and more efficient. It's going to ensure that I can help identify where my next move is.
Right? So, in terms of decision making.
In terms of decision making, one, but also in terms of future-proofing my role in the company. Right? It's going to also help me because once I've acquired particular skills, the models can branch out and predict. Devaan, you've acquired skill X, Y, and Z. Your next move might be Y, and a vacancy has just opened up. You know, people might want to
now
explore
I
those.
see what you mean.
So in terms of, it's going to assist us in terms of career management in helping us move along. And if you think about from a mining sector point of view,
Sure.
if you think about a blue collar worker, right, learning, upskilling him or herself, and understanding that now that they've gained skills X, Y, and Z, you know, there's an opportunity for me to move into a more of a back office role, maybe.
Okay.
You know, whereas previously this was never thought. You could
This was
never
never
think about
thought.
it.
Yes.
Because I know how to work with my hands, and that's it. And maybe this is all it is for me.
Yeah.
But in an economy that's becoming more digital and more digitally focused, how do we ensure that we safeguard our futures to provide not just for my current family, but it's for the next generation as well?
Exactly, because there will always be a human touch needed. The only thing that we haven't talked about as we close, Devaan, is the appetite to invest in these tools. A lot of people, I don't know if you have seen this, a lot of people would say, oh, these things, because they're so groundbreaking technologies, they must be very expensive and they must take long to roll out and implement. How would you respond to a scare that says these things are too high level, our organization will never afford it, and we don't deserve it?
There are two options. You can follow the expensive route, or you can follow a software as a solution, software as a service solution.
Yeah, SOS.
So if you want to build on your own, you know, and if you're in a traditional IT type environment, you're going to follow a development environment. You're going to have to secure the following along your tech stack, right? A development environment, and there's resources that go around managing the pre-production, and there's resources involved in managing pre-production. Production, and there's resources involved there, and then there's, you know, testing and business analysis.
So there's options.
So, well, this is just the one value stream.
Just the one.
So you follow, that's a traditional approach to, and that's for me, that's the more expensive approach, right? And you haven't even tapped into, and if it's just generative AI, you haven't tapped into the tokens that you need to account for in the solution when people prompt the large language models.
Yes.
So you could end up in millions.
Wow.
As far as that is concerned, right? Just to maintain that environment.
Because there's licensing as well, and then there's updates.
And storage. Right? Because remember, we spoke about the amount of data, the volumes of data. And you need to store this data somewhere, right? So it's expensive, right? The other option, which I'm in favor of, is an off-the-shelf software as a service solution, a SaaS solution. That's I'm in favor of that, and we've actually kicked off a piece of work of that nature in Sanlam.
Oh, at Sanlam.
Yeah. So what's important about this is we're able to run a pilot and lock in the actual true cost.
Okay.
And set a success criteria
before you have a blanket.
Before we go out across the entire organization. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
So my recommendation is that because the technology is extremely new, is to follow a off-the-shelf SaaS solution. But you still do it within the confines of your security requirements, so that you ensure
it has to
that
comply.
It has to comply with your security requirements. Because then because then what you'll do is you'll ensure that your legal team has come alongside. You'll ensure that your ethics team has come alongside to formulate that policy. To ensure that how you can make use of this technology, so that you know that the information coming in, information going out is extremely reliable. But then at the same time, you also do this within the confines of a limited period of time.
Okay.
And you quickly implement, because the solution is already there. You're just adapting it to your network, to your data requirements. So you're fine-tuning the model as opposed to building from scratch. Right? You save time by doing that. And there's a success criteria that you're holding the SaaS provider
because the SaaS provider must comply also with your own criteria that you
100%,
set.
Yes. And they're putting together ultimately the performance of the models, whether it's RPA, whether it's decision automation, simulation, and generative AI. They're helping you achieve your success criteria.
Okay.
And you're feeding back to the board or to your stakeholders around.
So there's that loop.
This is the how we increase production or productivity. This is how we've increased safety. We've managed to identify predictive maintenance, whereas previously it would have taken us a lot longer.
Exactly.
Whereas now we're able to do it in 90 days. We were able to compile a data set, report upon the predictive maintenance requirements. We've used these IoT sensors. We've integrated that into our maintenance schedule, and as a result, that we've able to repair items a lot faster.
So it's quite measurable.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can measure your ROI. So if you, to your
100%.
point, if you spend 4 or 5 million rand in a tool or system, then you can actually almost measure the outcomes of that.
Spot on.
In terms of research. So people are scared, but sometimes those investments are justifiable.
Absolutely.
And it's just a matter of it is measurable, and people must just learn to know what to measure, because obviously you have to measure performance before AI and measure it after, and then you understand what the return on that investment has been. And the examples that you've given are quite straightforward. It makes sense. No?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just a matter of being able to know what to measure, because you spoke earlier about the shareholders. They would like to see the bottom line. If you asked the board or Exco, I want 10 million rand investment in this thing, they're going to want to know, what are we going to save?
100%.
And what's the drop on the bottom line?
Yeah. And I think what's important is to pick items that are achievable.
Oh, okay.
Right? So if you know that this is something that you do on a monthly basis, let's stick with maintenance, right? So if you know that I need to ensure that I've got person A, B, and C working on maintenance of this machine every single month.
And you know how long it's taking.
You know how long it's taking.
To do that.
You know the KPIs.
Yeah.
You know what the expected outcome is as far as the repair work is concerned, or the maintenance work is concerned, if you have to go and secure parts or anything of that sort of nature. If you are partnering with using IoT sensors to ensure that you are able to identify any weak points.
Predictively, yes.
Right? You use that alongside. So now you are doing almost like time in motion study.
So
on the one end, you have a warm body performing the same function that an IoT device is performing.
Yeah.
You're able to then do a side-by-side comparison.
Exactly.
Right? And in real time, you are now able to say, we've extracted a lot of value.
Yeah.
We've saved time. You could almost look at the salary cost of performing that and then tie that back to your cost saving.
And tie that back,
Yeah, absolutely.
And also that individual can also do more creative stuff
100%.
with that time, which is more intuitive and innovative.
Yeah.
And that's more future looking, because sometimes when you remove those routine tasks, then people can think about more about stuff that's coming
complex tasks.
Complex stuff, as well as strategic one. My friend, this has been good, and this discussion is going to continue. I said to you outside, there's going to be more and more discussions that involve the AI as a subject, and I'm sure you'd be keen to come back and talk to us again.